Agriculture is crucial to Colorado's economy. Proposition 105 would hurt Colorado food producers by forcing them to use misleading labels that conflict with national standards. It would require many food products that we export to be labeled as genetically engineered even when they're not.
We're not talking about GMO-free country. We're talking about labeling the foods that are genetically modified. You can be for GMOs and still support labeling for them.
Right.
So talk about the significance of these ballot initiatives. I mean, what's going on in Colorado is a true battle. Monsanto and these other corporations pouring in millions. Now Chipotle has joined Ben & Jerry's and a lot of environmental groups in saying that they want the labeling. Why do you think the labeling is such a problem? What is the problem with GMOs?
I think we have to go back to the history of regulation in the United States. The Dan Quayle Commission produced a position paper basically on how to regulate biotechnology. Out of that, they said that you don't have to regulate genetically modified food. So if you put a chemical into a processed food, you have to go through FDA regulations. But if you put a foreign gene into a plant, according to the FDA, you don't have to go through regulations. They give the corporations the opportunity to decide whether they want to market the food or not. So when you start with that assumption, where they think and believe that putting foreign genes into food is no different than just creating hybrid crops, once you follow that logic, then they say there's no need for labeling. Europeans have never followed that logic. They say you have to test each of these products because you don't know what the outcome is going to be.
Your book makes the case that the science on GMOs has been corporatized, that companies like Monsanto have had such a huge influence over the research and the conclusions of scientists. How has that come to be when, for example, on the issue of fossil fuels, we have a consensus of climate scientists that fossil fuel extraction causes global warming and needs to be stopped, even though that would be harmful to major companies? How is it that agribusiness has come to control the science, as you claim in your book?
Well, there are some independent scientists, and they have produced some animal studies on the effects of GMOs. And some of those studies have shown that the effects are not good. And every time a scientist produces such a study, they are vilified by other scientists and other people who are tied to the industry. So we have seen from our own research that the science has been politicized, and there are many cases where we can show that scientists have been treated unfairly and unethically just because they have found negative outcomes with respect to the animal studies. The large corporations don't want to label for obvious reasons. They don't want to have a segmented patchwork communities where they have to present products to different states and different conditions. It doesn't work well for the efficiency of the corporation. So they would prefer to have one rule for every state and every city. Now, when California requires labeling on products because of environmental effects, those labels go to every other city and state in the country. So we all benefit from some of the California initiatives on toxic chemicals. And that could also be true with GMOs. If they label in Oregon, if they label in Colorado, they can just label everywhere. And the company is not going to lose out on that. They're trying to instill fear in the people that the food prices will skyrocket if they do that. Well, that's just fear tactics. We have some labeling, voluntary labeling, on genetically modified products used to make milk, bovine growth hormones. You can buy milk that says no bovine growth hormone. It hasn't skyrocketed the products of the cost of milk.